There are a lot of misconceptions about this United States of America corporation. It's also called a nation. It's basically a codified government, sometimes described as a republic or a democratic republic, a democracy. But we need to understand something. And until we understand, there's always going to be problems. And more people are just annoyed and dissatisfied and also confused about this government. And it's gotten to the point where it's beyond that. Their frustration has risen to here, and they're just plain pissed at this bureaucratic entity. So let's rewind back to the source and kind of describe in a few sentences how it happened. There was a bunch of people on this land called Turtle Island, and they had their own present form of organization and rulership in case there were problems, and they had like a hierarchy, and it was kind of balanced between the male and the female. It was called the Iroquois Confederacy, and these were called indigenous people of the land after the fact by people who came invading from another continent. Now, these people from the other continent had a lot of things going on themselves, and they had different bodies of laws, one of which was the Magna Carta, which is the document calling, things about life that are in common with their people and how they should organize as a legal entity of representation, parliament and stuff. So all that came out of that, and they also had organizations called religions which became established, and they were also incorporated or incorporealized, and they also governed, and it was based on divine right. But basically all these governments over there were under divine right because that was the premise of the kings and the queens. So bring these continents together where they actually one invaded the other, so, and not vice versa. So the land which became conquered, which was invaded, was then developed as a synthesis between the two of them. And one of the foundational bases was to take the principles of the Iroquois Confederacy and put them into a new confederacy. And therefore the colonists, which were the people and the next generation after the immigrants, starting to codify their own system because of the long distance and the time delay from the original invading continent, which was Europe. So if it would take a month or so to get there and then back, so that's several months of delay of trying to govern anything. So it's better if there's pressing matters and they wanted to move things along more fluently, more flowing, they would just take care of a lot of matters themselves. So they would go up and down the regions. It's basically the east coast of the continent, which was known as Turtle Island. And the colonies got somewhat independent. They were sovereign up to the point of declaring their independence in a further document that was founded on this Article of Confederation, which is a reflection of the Iroquois Confederacy law, and which that was all around what was to become New York and up into Canada. But actually there were different tribes up there, which were the not the Hurons, Algonquins mostly, and then there was Mohawks and Mohicans and so on and so forth. So the Iroquois played a large part in this, and there were several tribes or nation within this total Iroquois Confederacy. And in fact, some of these people or their partial descendants, mixed blood, mixed race, or mixed continent ethnicity, they were also involved in signing some of these documents. Now, what then happened within a few years was a tension between the colony, which was becoming more sovereign, and the motherland, or the empire side of things over there in the more white color skin of Europe. And the tension was coming to a head. They're bringing more troops over called redcoats, and there were allies made between the Indians and the French and the this and the that. So fighting ensued to prove this independence through force of might, which, as always happens in the history of humanity, they have to do that. Power of the sword. And then the power of the pen came, which shows you that a new group of states were going to unify under a central structure, and they established a legal entity to do that, and that was called the United States Constitution. But let's rewind again and think about these three documents as they evolved and unfolded and are to be taken together to understand how they're looking at people. You've got to really keep it foremost in your mind, like the foundation of how you're thinking, that people pre-existed, just like the Iroquois and just like the other tribes. They pre-existed. And there's something that's called preeminence, there's something called inalienable, and there's something called life. The government has basically nothing to do with life. When we each come into the world, we are granted life. Religion tries to explain this, science tries to analyze it in a laboratory, and all of us, I'm sure, wonders about the meaning and the life and the purpose of it, and how did we get here. You can split hairs and say, this and the conception and the sperm and the egg, or, love or families, or, this type of thing. There's philosophy, there's destiny, there's fate. So there's many ways to look at it, but overall it's just a mystery, but it's a blessing. We each have a life. I need to remind you, that has nothing to do with the government. And I also need to explain to you that life grants to you, along with it, it's a package deal, what has come to be called after the fact rights. Your rights, your civil rights, then they get more complicated with it. But basically, life allows you to exist. It allows you to continue to exist, and it's up to you, your own responsibility, to make that happen. If you want to stop eating one day and you don't know what to do and you fall off a cliff or whatever else, you did that. Government should have no business in it. Either way, helping you or hindering you. It really shouldn't. And let me explain more about the life's automatic benefits, the automatic rights, which are called sometimes inalienable rights. It has nothing to do with government. Government's purpose is not to protect those lives, the individual life. It really doesn't. I'm going to talk about government and why it was created and all that later. But I'm trying to hammer the point, like the common sense that everybody seems to forget. That's why I have to do the video. Life happens, and it continues to exist, and we need to have liberty which is sometimes translated as freedom, to be a free man, free human being, to be. And it also says we have a pursuit of happiness. These are the things that were stated after the fact. But I can also tell you the things that are not really written down, they're just commonly accepted if you're a living human. That you like to breathe air, you like everything to be clean and good for your survival. We're supposed to be in harmony when we encounter each other. We're not supposed to be harming people this way and that way, and we don't do that. We're just born to exist amongst each other in this wonderful place we call the world or the planet Earth. Where does government come in there? Oh, it just becomes a necessary evil and thrusts itself in by force and makes you forget that you're born with rights. Nobody can take them away. Nobody can affect them. Unless, of course, somehow, through some delusion, drugs, hypnosis, implants, peer pressure, wrong training, so on and so forth, you totally get out of line of what your rights are and to respect the rights of others, and suddenly we have to deal with you. We will put you in the brig, you'll walk the plank, you get in the dungeon, whatever it is, the guillotine. There are different things that have come up. People now debate that. But you see, if we're all getting along and respecting our rights of life and living it and being and allowing everyone else around us to do it, and we were all following that law, which is the golden rule, then we would have no need for government. Along comes government and says, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to form, I require confederacy, Articles of Confederation, Declaration of Independence, U.S. Constitution. Yes, we went over that in the beginning of the video, remember? It's evolution of stuff on paper. Hey, I wrote it down. Yeah, it must make it true. It's written down. Yeah. Guess what? Philosophically, analyze it. Look it up on Google. Do a search. Quote. Dead letter. End quote. Then do a search. Quote. The living word. End quote. Or G-O-D. Spirit. The spirit of the law, quotations. Do searches on that and you'll understand things. You must go into common law. You must go into natural law. You must then go into commerce law, merchants, mercantile. You must go into admiralty law. You must look at the flag and see, why does it have those golden tassels on it? I'm giving you indicators of symbols and clues that what I'm saying is absolutely true. When you enter one of their court systems under this corporation, you go through the thing, and they usually have the place where the judge is sitting, their honor, la-di-da-di-da, and they have like a fencing around it. That's like they do on a ship back in the old days. It is the law of the sea. It's admiralty law, the high seas. And when you get on there, they are granting you permission to enter the ship, to get on the ship, and they recognize you are in the ship. The captain's orders. If you didn't want to enter the ship, you don't. You don't approach the bench. You don't approach that. You remain independent. You're not on the ship. But as soon as you get on the ship, you are subject and liable to their code of rules. You have just submitted. You have understood. Understood. Under it. No, I do not understand. No, I do not comply. No, that is not me in all capital letters. Sovereign. You don't even have to say the word. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. It depends if the court is competent at all. Most jurisdictions are completely incompetent. You may have to try to move it up higher jurisdictions. Do appeals. But we're not talking about legal litigations here. We're talking about the foundation of what the truth is. I'm going to wrap it up now. This is an epic, monumental delivery of truth for those of you out there who are able to listen. When they wrote down in the Constitution the thing called the Bill of Rights, starting with 1, 2, 3, and so on, and then they continued to add amendments. But the thing where they talked about the rights of people, for the people, by the people, of the people, not necessarily in that order. These are per sons. Per son has a legal meaning. Per son. I'm not really a person. Not in their book. I am a spirit. I am a creature of nature. I am whatever I call myself to be. I do not allow labels. You've heard me say that before. I do not take to categorization, which is therefore limitation. I am everybody. I have a religion without a name that I subscribe to, and I will teach it to those who are able and willing. But that's later on. First, you need to understand the basics, which is very difficult because you've all been brainwashed. The media and your education system and your books and your own government and your own friends at the bar or at work or wherever, or your family, has continued to brainwash you and everyone around you. And they just haven't been able to do it to me, because I'm everybody. Now, when you see the things written down on the paper, when you see it written on the paper, all these notes here, when you see this is a legal document. When you see the things written down on the paper, and by the way, that was a real legal document. A real legal document. Authentic, sure it is. When you see the things on paper, like I said, it's the dead letter. That's their own notes to their own corporation that they are telling the people and the world that they will apply and follow and respect. Okay? This is like the key phrase. If you don't have the capacity or the intelligence to understand this key phrase, then forget it. Almost the whole video will be wasted on you. Let me repeat it. What was written down in the Constitution is their own notes to themselves about how they will run the corporation. If they say that they will respect all these things about human people that are living in the land that they so-called claim within their borders, which is a fictitious entity. It is fictitious. And anyone who complies with that and acts it out and does this whole pretend thing, walking up and down along the border and patrolling it, they are just promoting a fictitious entity. And the people know that it doesn't exist. And the more that they keep enforcing that stupid crap, just like they built the Berlin Wall, all it is just adding more fuel to the fire. They're enforcing the idea of how stupid these fiction make-believe games are. First of all, when they write all this stuff down on paper, it's a fiction. It's make-believe. It doesn't exist. A corporation does not exist. Mark my words. Even though within their system of law they write a piece of paper and they say it exists and they say it has rights like a life does, no it doesn't. No it doesn't. I will go head to head any day into the highest court in the law and in the land, make sure it's competent, me versus any corporation, and I have to be respected way beyond it. If it's not, I guess all of you, everybody, needs to rise up in revolution and make it right. I guess so. I guess so. Unless you want to sit around like slaves under a tyranny. Understand? No, I don't understand. I overstand you. I stand up as a man, a human being with rights that can never be tampered with. It's non-negotiable. There's no license for that. License is another one. Licentious behavior. That means I want to do something bad. Here, pay some money for it. It's okay. Look all this stuff up. I have done decades of research. I've listened to the experts and put together the total picture. You come to me, you're going to get the truth. That's all you're going to get. Nothing but the truth. Not in a court of law, but in life. From me to you. Life to life. That's the only thing that matters. What I'm saying, I could go on and on because there's so much you need to know that you didn't know before you watched this video. What they're saying in there has nothing to do with what you have as a living being. It's not about you. It's about how they need to remind themselves when they're pretending to be a corporation, a fictitious entity that wants to busy itself with what? Money. That's it. And everything attached to money. Money. It's a money corporation. That is what the United States of America is. That's it. Kaput. Nothing more. Nothing glorious. Nothing to be proud of. That's it, okay? Don't fucking lay your life down in some other fucking country you don't even want to be and say you're fucking proud of the country. You're fucking idiot porn is what you are. You fucking slave willing to die for your fucking asshole master that doesn't care about you. You just gave up your living being status. You did it willingly. You went in, can I approach the bench? Can I lay down my life? Can I be one of these markers here in the fucking cemetery when I turn around? Hey, 18 years old, not fucking bad. Never had a family, never had a life, never fucking enjoyed anything. Just were a fucking robot. Sorry, but it's the fucking truth. You don't like it, fucking suck it and get lost. Serious. I am tired of you fucking stupid assholes. If you're one of those, you haven't made it to this point, though. I doubt it. Everyone's still listening. I gotta love, man. You are my warriors. You the saints marching in. Get it straight about the government, people. There ain't no righteous government on the earth and never has been. They're all going to go down. The only way that they go down is that if you understand the truth that I've just given you, I've just given it to you. If everyone would understand that truth and operate by it, you're going to see the revolution happen like that. Okay? So let me just refresh you on what they put down on paper is their own rules to themselves that they say that they have to follow. And I take it that way because if I see that they don't, I can come to them and say, you don't follow this yourself. That's got nothing to do with me. But I see that you don't follow that yourself. I guess you got to be removed. I guess according to revolution and patriots and so on and so forth, these kind of angles of thinking, I guess you got to be removed. Yeah, I guess you got to be removed. You're just a false piece of shit sitting in an office somewhere writing out fucking law. What law? You don't write out no fucking law. You don't know what law is. Write out some laws for yourself and follow it if that's what you need to do. I know the fucking law. I am the law. I am the law. My life is the life, the pure, the raw, never been changed, non-fucking negotiable, and I'm the law. Everything that I do is the law. People around me know that and sometimes have trouble with it or whatever because they're used to the fucking brainwashed world. They're used to people that are a certain way. Now, I'm a certain way, and I don't fucking tolerate shit. I'm not going to compromise because as soon as you start compromising, oh, the necessary evil? Oh, okay, I guess you're necessary. The fuck hell it is. They exist in a different level of life. You want to deal with money? You deal with money. That's it. That's all the government. I'll tell you now what the government was created for. The government, as I said, remember, Iroquois Confederacy. It was created in case there was going to be conflict amongst the people. This is where law came from. Period. End of story. Okay? That's where it came from. It means that if I had a quarrel with someone, I'm going to write it down and I'm going to petition to this governing body that we have a conflict. It's on paper and I'm going to go into court for law. That's all the government's for. So, like, we just submitted to needing them. See, if I couldn't solve a problem with him, between me and him, both of us are going to get in front of the court. That's the outer law, because we didn't have the inner law. Am I right? Gabish? Mafia style? If me and him can work it out, because it's his word and it's my word, and we each have his life and my life. Examples of everybody, even man and wife, like husband and wife, are now husband and husband, wife and wife, whatever. But if two people or more work it out, like get to harmony, they solve their differences, they mediate, they pray, they call on the Spirit, they can solve their problems. It's only when they give up and then they have to go. The government suddenly grew out of that. That's how the government grew. That is how the government was getting so complicated and had to write down all its laws and say, I've got to remember what to do. I've got to respect their rights to this extent. Freedom of speech. Okay, life and liberty. And freedom in their persons and their possessions. No seizure, no stealing of it. All this. Yeah, you better believe it that they have to remind themselves, because they get a little heavy-handed and red-handed, and they're going to take shit from you and they're going to slap you down. They never had the right to do that. Never, 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 ever, ever. And when it happened, it doesn't prove that it was right. It doesn't prove that it was in the law. It doesn't prove that the people ever wanted it. It just proves that they made a mistake. They broke their own law. And certainly when they break their own law, they're breaking the law of life. And we've got to stand up for that. The law of life is the ones that are given to you, inalienable, can never be alienated from you. They will always be with you. Your life, it has to be your life. And your life must go on according to your own doing and how you care for yourself and how you will continue. It's just a matter of fate. We do still have mortality, which is another much spiritual realm. Government doesn't even really talk about it, unless let's really get to the conclusion here. Government has all to do with the money. If me and somebody else had a problem with money, the money problem has to go to the government. See, if we can't solve it ourselves, it has to go to the government. That's where 99% of the causes to go into the court comes from. Am I right? Am I right? Am I right? Am I right?
Specifically speaking?
On money. Isn't it money problems?
I would have to say...
Families go in there, divorces, suing somebody for injury, car accidents, I need a settlement, a criminal, they stole something, on and on.
As a teacher once put it in high school, as a good math teacher, he said money isn't everything, but it does pay the bills.
Sounds like fucking circular logic that don't mean anything, but that's how stupid people have gotten. Yeah, he was getting a paycheck, and yeah, the point is that money, just like government, is a necessary evil, but at the same time, why don't you wise up and realize it's also an unnecessary evil? We don't have to tolerate it. We can live in different worlds. If you live in the world under the natural law of government, which is based on like pure real life, not fictitious stuff, then we will have a much more harmonious society. We will actually enter into that great kingdom. But we need a leader that's going to bring us to that. We need a powerful leader that everybody accepts. And I'm going to tell you right now, all the documents and everything, and the fact that you used to say that, I get my rights from that. You don't get your rights granted by that paper. You already had your rights. When they wrote it down on the paper, they were just reminding themselves. You, on the other hand, need to remind you, as I've reminded you, that your rights are there. They are inherent. They are always attached to you. They are as definite as your life itself. So this is my conclusion. Now you know, and I don't think I could give you any more of the basic total freaking absolute truth that you have to have. If you don't agree with me, I don't know who the fuck you are. No wonder why there's problems in the world. Thanks for listening.